Alrighty, I gotta ask everybody in chat, have y'all been vaccinated? I've got my first shot. I'm going to get the second shot here in a few days. I don't know exactly when. We still need to schedule that. But I do have to ask, have you been vaccinated and why? Because as we all know, COVID as a virus has the ability to do some weird shit to you. It is not an easy thing to deal with for some people. And even some people who have been perfectly healthy, who have gotten the virus, have come out with lung scarring and all kinds of shit afterwards. It can wreck you. It can really wreck you. So, would you then say it is maybe just a teensy-eensy-weensy little bit irresponsible for someone like Joe Rogan to argue against vaccinations? I would. So come on, Joe. Let's hear your arguments. Let's hear them out of the boomer brain.
And people say, do you think it's safe to get vaccinated? I've said, yeah, I think for the most part it's safe to get vaccinated. I do. I do. But if you're like 21 years old and you say to me, should I get vaccinated? I go, no. Yeah. Are you healthy?
Wait.
Are you a healthy person? Like, look, don't do anything.
So, wait, hold on. If you're a 21-year-old person, knowing that the vaccine lowers the symptoms that you would get, and you don't know exactly how the virus is going to interact with your body, after saying the statement, is it safe, and you say yes, is it then fair to say, well, no, you shouldn't get vaccinated because you're healthy? Everybody is going to say that they are some measure of healthy, and what they define as healthy may be different than what a doctor defines as healthy. And again, perfectly healthy people have come out of the other end of this with things like lung scarring, as I've said. Kids are healthy. Why do we vaccinate kids? Well, so that they don't become unhealthy. That's the point. That's what we do. Well, okay, Joe. Let's hear more reasonings. Come on. Remember, most watched podcasts in the world, everybody.
Anything stupid, but you should take care of yourself. You should, if you're a healthy person and you're exercising all the time and you're young and you're eating well, and like, I don't think you need to worry about this.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you.
But there's a lot of jobs that will tell you need to have this.
Well, yes, because if you are a job and you have a labor force, especially a labor force that is going to be working with the public, it is generally good to have your people protected. And again, this is the most watched podcast in the world. An actual health official, somebody with some level of expertise, because Joe Rogan does not have expertise. Somebody who actually has expertise in this field would stare Joe Rogan in the face and go, "You're a fucking idiot." And it is because of idiots like you that we have so much trouble getting people taken care of now.
That's what's starting to happen now.
People are worried about them doing it for their children. And we talked about this earlier.
Yeah.
There's that you might have to have your children vaccinated. And, you know, I can tell you as someone who's both my children got the virus, it was nothing.
In your anecdotal experience, in your particular experience, there are multiple strains of the virus. It is not just one coronavirus. There are multiple strains, and each strain can operate in the body differently. And the vaccine largely protects against most of those strains. Protects against the symptoms of them, mind you. The symptoms being the things that fark up your lungs.
I mean, I hate to say that. If someone's children died from this, I'm very sorry that happened. I'm not in any way diminishing that.
But you are. You just did. You just did. You cannot say, I am not diminishing this, after saying a statement that very much diminishes that.
I'm saying the personal experience that my children had with COVID was nothing.
And then as an influencer, you have taken that personal anecdotal experience and used that as an argument for other people who are viewing your platform. And they are going to take their cue off of you. And you might respond with, well, that's stupid, they shouldn't do that, they're all individuals. You're right, they are individuals. But you are not an individual anymore. You stopped being an individual when you gained the power that your platform allows. you are now seen as an expert in some way, shape, or form. And I understand technically, Joe Rogan, you're not an expert. You're not. And you would agree that you're not. But people take your opinions with less than a grain of salt. And this happens all the time. When you get to a certain point, and this is an argument from the heap, there's not a definitive time where this happens. When you get to a certain point, is there not a responsibility you have to use your platform in a way that's not going to hurt people? Just... maybe I'm speaking out of my ass. Maybe I'm 100% wrong, but I feel as though there comes a point where you have to realize your actions, your words, they influence other people. And you can't just say, oh, well, I don't want to diminish anything that you experience while simultaneously doing that.
One of the kids had a headache. The other one didn't feel good for a couple days.
Yeah.
Like, maybe, I mean, not feel good, like no big deal. No coughing,
Right.
no achy, no, like, in agony. There was none of that. It was...
Correct. And in a lot of cases, it doesn't happen. In a lot of cases, it's not that they're going to experience the worst COVID symptoms. But for the ones who it does happen to, and it is a roll of the dice over whether or not you are going to be one of the ones experiencing that in a lot of cases, you don't want to find out that you rolled a nat 1 on that.
very mild. It was akin to them getting a cold.
Yeah, and you can have this thing where it's like you were saying, this virtue signaling and this kind of like theatrical display of I get the vaccine, what a good person I am, I care about everyone. But you're like, look, my daughter's a lot younger than your kids, but I'm like, yeah, I'm not injecting my daughter with something to fucking virtue signal. Like, I'm not doing that.
Right.
If there's something that she's of no risk, statistically has no risk from, I'm sorry, I'm not taking any...
Wait. No risk? Didn't Joe just mention people whose kids had died?
Look a tulip in the eye.
Thank you very much, Mitsu Ghost, for the follow. But also, Joe, didn't you just mention kids who died? It's not no risk at that point. And if you're going to sit there and literally be the anti-vaxxer and go, no, I'm not going to get my kid vaccinated for this. Mind, COVID's not going away. We have created the world in which it's not going to be going away anytime soon. Your kid's going to get older. And there's going to come a point where they might need to get it still. Moreover, again, you're literally rolling the die there. And the chances of something bad happening via COVID are infinitely smaller than the chances of something bad happening via the vaccine. This anti-vax BS, and I know that the argument's going to be they're not anti-vax, they're just being skeptical. It's not being skeptical to literally deny science. That's not being skeptical. That's being obtuse. That is being 110% obtuse.
Any experiment on her in that, and that's my attitude.
But it's not an experiment. It's a tested vaccine. Has it been as tested as other vaccines in the past? No, we haven't had that kind of time available. But nobody's experimenting on your child, you dillhole.
It's amazing that that's controversial.
Yeah.
That even saying that I'm not going to inject my child with the vaccine is controversial.
Yeah.
How is that insane? What? What's insane about... Okay, so, vaccines, vaccine technology, something that is widely accepted as safe, something that statistically is safe. Why is it that it is considered not insane to look at your child and go, you know what? If you get measles, mumps, if you get a whooping cough, if you get... literally any of the various things that we have created vaccines for you to look at your child and go, no, I don't want to protect you from that. While also letting your child go out in public, where there are other people, where they will experience these things. It's akin to throwing your child out into a war zone, where there are bullets. They might not always hit your child, but you had the option to give them armor. You had the option to give them body armor that would block pretty much any bullet coming their way. Instead, you decided, nah, I'm going to roll the dice. It's going to be fine. I am a responsible parent. And then you come here onto a podcast and say that to millions of people while denouncing people who are virtue signaling. No. You are literally virtue signaling, going, "Ma freedoms." That is what you're doing.
It's crazy. Because, again, we are not talking about even the flu that we just found out killed 22,000 people last year. We're not talking about that.
Right.
We're talking about something that is not statistically dangerous for children. But yet people still want you to get your child vaccinated, which is crazy to me.
Again, how is it crazy? There's more unknowns than there are knowns where the virus is concerned, but we have enough of a body count. The flu killed 200,000 last year. COVID killed 500,000 last year. And that was with people social distancing. That was with people lowering the amount of contact they have with other people, Joe. Our flu deaths were lower last year than they usually are because of social distancing, because people engaged in safer practices and better
Never
hygiene.
Look a tulip in the eye.
Thank you very much for the follow, Savage Benno. People largely, by the whole, engaged more safely, statistically, in 2020 than they did in previous years because there was onus to do so. And despite all that, we still have a death toll of 500,000 in the United States. You did this comparison between COVID and the flu, I assume, as an attempt to say that it's not even as bad as the flu, and yet, when it has a higher body count, you mentioned that children had died already, and that you weren't trying to undermine that. But all of this, every single bit of this, is undermining those deaths, Joe. And if that's not your intention, fair. But I am largely a proponent that when it comes to morality, it is the mean between intention and outcome that matters. The difference between deontology and consequentialism. And I think that somewhere in the middle lies what we would consider to be largely morality, somewhere between the intent of an action and the consequences of it. And yet, the consequences of your action are to undermine those things, are to essentially engage in a soft form of science denialism, and to do so with one of the largest platforms available on the internet. This is wholly irresponsible, over and above the irresponsible platforming that generally happens on Joe Rogan's podcast. Like, this is just icing on the cake of all that. But yeah, go ahead, Joe. Go ahead. Keep telling us how this isn't a big deal, as the bodies mount higher. Fark insert into video tagline here.